For today's tutorial, I decided there was time for one last Christmas candy tutorial. So today we are making candy canes from polymer clay for the dolls. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy these are to make. Alright, off camera I did some clay mixing. Now our main part of our candy canes will be the white, and for that I use equal parts pearl and translucent. If you don't have pearl, you can use 2 parts white and 1 part translucent, but I love how pearl makes it look more sugary. It just makes a nicer, more realistic looking candy cane. Then we're not going to need as much green, so 2 parts green, 1 part translucent, and red. 2 parts red, 1 part translucent. These can be any red, any green, and you could use other colors too. I know there's blue candy canes and there's all different colors, so pick the color you want. On the colors of clay, everything except pearl, 2 parts of the color to 1 part translucent. Get those all mixed and ready to go, and then you can have some fun. So I am going to get set up to make our first variation of the candy canes. Alright, for our first candy cane we're going to make a pretty simple, just kind of generic candy cane. I might do some more difficult designs later, but for right now I just want your plain candy cane with plain solid stripe. So I've got a little drum or log of the red clay. And now I'm going to roll this out so it's the same length. Actually, I'm going to roll it out so it's double the length. I was thinking I was cut and then roll it again, but it's going to be easier to keep it the same size if I do it this way. And I can get it thinner. Alright, now cut 2 stripe colors that are the same, about the same length as your log. Put one on one side, try and keep it straight. It is really windy outside and I'm sure you're hearing the wind. Apologize for that. We have another winter storm. And the window in this room is really loud. Alright, so we've got stripe right across from each other. And I like to start by kind of pushing it down into the tray. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight because we're going to be trimming. And we're just going to roll this down. I'm going to cut this there. And I'll probably cut it a couple of times just to keep it easy to handle. I don't want this to get away from me and get so long that I don't have it nice and straight. Now, one thing to keep your eye on, or keep an eye out for, keep constant contact with the clay and feel it. If you feel a soft spot, that means you have an air bubble in your cane of clay, and you'll need to fix that before you go any further, because that will ruin your project. Now, I want to get this down to about a 1/16 of an inch. Or a little bigger, someplace between a 1/16 and an 1/8 will be fine. I think I can cut this in half. I don't want to cut it down too far because I don't want to make it too short. But let's see how big around this is. A little bit big. I'll probably go closer to an 1/8. I don't want to go smaller than a 1/16. An 1/8 of an inch will make this a sturdy enough that it won't instantly break if you try to handle it once it's baked. That's probably good enough. It's pretty close to 1/8 of an inch in diameter. Now, I want to start rolling, I want to start twisting. And if it's got a thin spot, it's going to try to twist more in a thin spot than not. Like it's really thin right there. I'm going to cut this to about probably 2.5 inches because I want to have a finished candy cane length of about 2 inches. All right. All right, I'm going to transfer that. I'll just leave it over here at the side. So we're going to make a couple of those. If you need to, you can use like a pencil to help you form that top hook. See how long those are getting to be. I think they're about right. Yep, my aim was about 2 inches, and those are right about 2 inches, so they're fine. When I move them to the paper plate to bake, I will refine the shape a little more. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to make some more out of these pieces I have rolled, and then when I get them on the paper plate, I'll come back and show you how they look. All right, there are our just standard, very basic candy canes. Let's make one that's a little more fun. All right, this time I've got a much wider, shorter piece of clay to start with. And I've pre-rolled my clay. I've got this piece, which is a little bit fatter, and then I've got this really skinny one. And I'm going to start by cutting, and I'm not going to use all of this. I'm going to use 3 pieces of it. But I wanted to get it pretty thin for what I want to do. So I want to take one piece and put it right like this. Now I want to go quite a ways away because this has a tendency to kind of creep towards the other piece. So you see I've got those spaced quite a bit apart. That's why I made this log of clay so much bigger around so I'd have more real estate to work with there. Then directly across from the center one, we're going to put a single fat piece of clay, which we will cut. And you'll notice my white clay has a little bit of red on it because it was on my hands and I didn't realize it. All right. Now it's just a matter of carefully rolling this out. Keeping firm, even pressure when you're starting out because you don't want to develop any little air bubbles. And don't worry if they don't stretch out to the ends. We're going to trim those ends anyway. Because we started out with such a fat clay, it's going to kind of sink in on the ends a little bit for us. You can also use your fingers to kind of help stretch it. Some people prefer to stretch their clay for the majority of it. That way I prefer to roll. Once you work with your clay for a while, you'll see what works best for you. And I use both depending on what I'm doing. I mean, there are some shapes, obviously, you have to kind of squeeze and pull. I'm going to cut off everything there and everything there, and then I'm going to cut this in half. And half of this we're going to make regular candy canes out of. Since we need to have kind of long pieces, we don't want to cut it down too often, but when it starts to get hard to handle, trim it down so that you can keep it pretty straight. Like right here, it's way thinner than here or here. So I need to be careful. And I can probably work around that spot, providing I don't get a lot more of those. Now, if you want to have perfectly shaped candy canes, one thing you can do is find some candy cane shapes online, scale them down to 2 inches, print them on a piece of paper, and put that under a sheet of parchment paper. And then you can form your candy canes right on top of that parchment paper, and they will be perfectly shaped every single time then. That's got a thin spot there, so I'm going to pull that one off to the side. These are going to be a little bit fatter because I want them to show up a little better. If you've got spots that are not twisting the way you want them to, concentrate on twisting there. Make sure your straight part of your candy cane is nice and straight. And I know sometimes when you buy a real candy cane, it's not perfect. They're not always perfect. And it will want to untwist as you bend it. That's kind of part of the bending process here. Okay, come on, stop sticking to my fingers. All right, I'm going to move these to my paper plate. I'm going to finish this part off into candy canes. Then I'll come back and we'll do something fun with this piece. All right, so I've got those made. So let's go ahead and make just some candy cane, like the little sticks like you might buy to put in your hot chocolate. And these a lot of times are a little bit long, or they're a little bit fatter, but not quite as long as a candy cane. So I'm going to go 1.5 inches in length for these. Because I want them to be, that's a little bit, actually that one is too skinny. It's got a really skinny spot to it. And all these little offcuts that I'm making, what I can do with those is chop them up and bake them, and then they can become like decorations to go on cookies or something for the dolls later. So I'm going to do some like this. That one is not going to work because it just got a little bit weird shaped. So I'm going to make another cane similar to the one we just made, and then I'm going to show you one more thing with just the red and white, and then we'll move on to adding some green. All right, I've made another snake of clay with the triple line and the single line, and I've rolled this out to just under 3/8 of an inch in diameter. And I'm going to cut a fresh edge so that my end is nice. And now I'm going to make one of my favorites when I was a kid. Candy was a rare thing when I was growing up. Candy canes were about the only thing my mom ever bought me. And I loved the ginormous ones that you could get. Never would finish one. I don't think in my life I've ever actually finished one of the really big ones, but I love them. So that was, it's just under 3/8. Let's see, what is my exact measurement? It is, because 3/8 looked a little too fat. 11/32 is probably the closest you're going to come to a measurement on there. And then I cut it, as you saw, right around 3 inches. Because these are big. These are really big. And I'm going to have to it's going to be a little hard to twist. Because you are going to want this, since these are not bent, you want to make sure that they are nice and even. There. And you may have to use your fingers to kind of force the twist. That's okay. Try not to grow it too much and try not to shift this diameter very much. And these, you want to make sure they are really, really straight. All right, now let's put these off to the side. These, by the way, I will bake on a separate tray for longer than our other candy canes. So I'm going to put these off to the side. Now let's make some candy canes with some green in them. All right, we're going to do one last variation on our candy cane. I've got my white core, our pearl color core that we've been using. I have the red clay, and then I pulled out just a little bit of the green. Now, one of the cool things, I think it's cool about candy canes, is they come in a lot of variations. I mean, yeah, they've got stripes, you know, they have some things in common, but those stripe patterns can vary depending on the company that makes them, and you can vary yours. So this one, I'm going to go with 2 red pieces, and I'm going to put the red pieces directly across from each other. Then I'm going to take skinnier green pieces and put those across from each other halfway in between the red. This will give a little bit different design, and there are so many different stripe patterns on candy canes. I mean, look online and see what you like. Go shopping for candy. Perfect excuse to buy yourself some candy. I was going to buy myself some candy canes when I thought of this, then I didn't get around to it. My tray is getting a film of red. So I do recommend cleaning your tray better than I have during the making of this video, because my candy cane outside is definitely turning pink. Now this one could be left the large size if you wanted to, or you can make a candy cane. And I think I might make both. If I do that, let's see how I can do. Is that about the same? A little bit. That's about the same. So let's get that cut there. Now I've still got this that I can use to make there. Let's see if we can make one big one on this one too. Give the dolls some variety. Or you can just make the ones that you like. Or maybe there's a brand of candy cane where you live that's more popular than other brands, and you can kind of recreate that. Maybe it's got a distinctive twist or something. All right, now we can take these smaller pieces. And it's okay if they twist while you're rolling them out. That's fine. I'll cut these. I won't do all of these on camera. I'll do some of them, and then I'll go ahead and turn the camera off. Once again, I'm going to, oh, first let's twist. Almost forgot to twist it. There, and that's what that one looks like. So I am going to go ahead and turn these into candy canes as much as I can. That one won't. And then when that's done, I'll come back, I'll talk to you about the baking, and then we'll get these baked. All right, now there are quite a few pieces, like this one got smushed, and pieces that were just not the right size to make into candy canes today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this up, and then I can save it. And then if I want to make in the future cookies or cupcakes or whatever for the dolls, I can use these as decorations. You know, just like we use crushed up candy canes sometimes in peppermint desserts, or even on top of hot chocolate or whatever. So I'm going to chop a bunch of this up and move it to my plate. Now I've got these two plates. Oops, here, a little close in for that, but those are going to need to be baked. And then I've got these larger pieces. So the regular size candy canes and these little bits, I'm going to bake at 250 today. Probably put those in for about 5 minutes. These I'm going to leave in for between 10 and 15. I'm going to check them at 10, and if they have not discolored, I will leave them in until 15. If they look like they might be starting to get dark, I'm going to pull them out at 10. This is something you'll have to keep an eye on. I wouldn't go above 250 with the red clay in here. Between the pearl and the red, red especially is very temperamental when you're baking it, and it tends to discolor and get dark if you're not really, really careful. So I'm going to bake, like I said, 250, 5 minutes for the first batch. Check these after 10, and when they're cooled, I'll come back and we can finish them up. All right, everybody is baked and cooled, and I only bake these for 10 minutes because, as you can see, red discolors, even the pearl discolors a little bit. These are kind of delicate colors. So now it's time. You could leave them like this, but I like to put a coat of satin Mod Podge, and I managed to spill. I was going to be very careful and pour it onto there to minimize mess, and then I spilled anyway. So I'm going to put these just skinny stick type things down so that when I paint these, I can, with the Mod Podge, I can lay them on there, then they're not laying directly on my tile. Makes them a little bit easier to get picked up. They dry a little faster. I might have to touch up a little bit on the back where they rest on those, but not much. So I am going to give these all a nice, very thin, light coat. This is satin Mod Podge. I don't know if I said that or not. I like satin for these because I think it looks more appetizing. So I'm going to give everybody a nice thin coat, and when they are dry, we'll come back and we will talk about how they turned out. right, our Mod Podge is all dry now. I think these turned out so cute. Yeah, they're not even, and like I said, if you were to make yourself a template and put it underneath a piece of parchment, you could make them absolutely perfectly shaped every time. For the video, I didn't want to do that. If I was going to make these and sell them, I would do that. But just for my use, for the video purposes, I'm okay with them being a little different. It gives them a little character. But I think they turned out really cute. I think they would be a lot of fun in a lot of scenes with your dolls. And we have the bonus. I got tired of cutting up peppermint pieces, but I got that many cut. We've got a lot, several little pieces to be used on other projects in the future. So I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you did, hit the like button, leave me a comment. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I encourage you to hit the subscription button and ring the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. And I'll talk to you next time.